So the Warriors took their last lead in this game with about 5 minutes left in the first quarter. The Magic essentially controlled this one throughout. It was one of those games where like the lead kept hovering in that 5 to 15 range. Like the Warriors would make a run and cut it down to like 5. And then the Magic would make a couple plays and stiff arm them. And then the Warriors would come back and cut it to 5. And then the Magic would stiff arm them. It just kind of hovered in that range. And then the Magic ended up winning by 8. I thought this particular game essentially came down to two things. One, the Magic got much better production down the roster after their stars. Anthony Black tortured the Warriors for 21 points in this one. Everything was at the rim. And this has been a consistent theme for the Warriors this season. Some of these bigger, stronger downhill athletes can do some damage to them attacking the basket. Franz did a ton of damage in this game, getting close to the rim and going through and over smaller Warriors players. And Anthony Black was no exception. He scored threw Draymond at the rim a few times, threw Jimmy at the rim. He got a big one late where Buddy Hield botched a switch. And we'll talk about Buddy Hield later because he definitely was not good, especially in the second half last night. But you got a big baseline dunk just kind of blowing through Buddy Hield's left shoulder for along the baseline. He did a bunch of damage in transition, got a couple of big transition dunks in the second half, one where he caught Moses Moody sleeping and not getting back to the rim, just a nasty little right-left like tomahawk along the baseline. Anthony's had a nice week, by the way. He's averaged 15 points per game on 55% from the field over his last 4 games. Tristan Da Silva had 15, hit some big threes early in the game. His three-point shooting has been a godsend for this Orlando Magic team as of late. And then the Magic bigs did a lot of damage. The size disparity was screaming off the screen last night. Wendell Carter Jr. had 17 points and 12 rebounds, just killed the Warriors inside. Just looked like a man amongst boys down there, like grabbing offensive rebounds over smalls when the Warriors would get up in rotation. Inside catches against Warriors guards when they'd end up in rotation. He'd either just go up and score, or he'd go up and draw a foul. I thought Goga Bitadze kind of kicked Horford's ass in the bench groups. I had a block on him, was getting behind him on rolls, had a nice Gortat screen that set up an easy layup. Like I thought Goga just played a lot better than Al Horford did. Tyus Jones only had 8 points, but on only 3 shots, and every one of them was important. Hit a couple of big threes, including a deep 28-footer from the top of the key that busted a Warriors zone look. He had a floater out of ice coverage on the left side of the floor. And then for the Warriors, it was basically just Steph or Jimmy or bust. Like those two guys had 67 points on 39 shots. Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski, Buddy Hield, Quentin Post, and Al Horford combined for 24 points total on 26 shots. So Anthony Black, almost by himself, managed to match the production of half of the Golden State Warriors rotation. It was an outclassing down the roster from the deeper bench players everybody after the stars of Orlando compared to the Warriors. But the second piece of it, and the second reason why I thought Orlando won this game, was the margins. The Magic seemingly paid off every single mistake the Warriors made last night. If they turned it over, Orlando ran out and got an easy 2. Someone fell asleep in transition, they'd get behind him and get a dunk. Oh, you don't pick up Anthony Black? Boom, one-handed hammer going down the lane. Oh, Moses Moody doesn't stop the rim in transition. Boom, Anthony Black along the baseline, a tomahawk dunk off of 2 feet. Like, if they missed a box out or left a guard on Wendell Carter Jr., they were getting an offensive rebound and they'd either get a foul or they'd get a bucket. Orlando had a 14-8 advantage in second chance points and a 28-16 advantage in fast break points. That's basically the difference in the game. And it's one of those things where Steph and Jimmy can do a lot to make up for what happened down the bench. The deep rotation guys for the Warriors didn't play well, but Steph and Jimmy were so good that they still had every chance to win that game. But every single time they cut it close, they would make a mistake. They'd have a turnover. They'd miss a rotation on defense. Buddy Hield would get lost and lose Anthony Black on a baseline drive. They'd give up an offensive rebound. Orlando consistently made Golden State pay for every mistake they made in this game. Orlando's now won 7 out of 10. This was a trend that started before Paolo got hurt and has now continued without him. They're 6th in defense in that 10-game span after a rough start to the season, 5th in rebounding, 13th in offense over the last 10 games. And I want to zoom in on this concept for a minute because I'm seeing some real growth there. Starts in transition, and this is fueled by their defense. Again, they got off to a rough defensive start to the season, but because they've been better on defense as of late, they've been able to get out and transition more. They had 37 points total in transition, according to Synergy. Last night, they've been averaging 30 transition points per game over their last 5 games. That has bumped their season average up to 28 and moved them to the 6th best transition offense in the league to start the year by volume. And again, that's fueled by their defense. And then in the half court, they're moving the ball really well. In their 1-4 start, only 53.6% of Orlando's made field goals were assisted. That ranked 27th in the league. That was during that horribly ugly offensive stretch that I was complaining about every single time I came on the show. But in the 7-3 stretch since then, they're assisting 65% of their made field goals, which ranks 12th in the NBA. And you're seeing a lot more of those like tic-tac-toe sequences, the stuff that leads to great looks, like running a Bane ball screen where you bring the second defender to the level that ends into a short roll pass that ends up getting skipped to the corner for a wide open 3. Higher level driving kick sequences, a la some of the stuff we've been talking about with Toronto, because they do have some, like Desmond Bane adds an aggregate playmaking talent to this group because of his ability to dribble, shoot, and pass. And when they have these lineups that have like Anthony Black and Desmond Bane and Franz Wagner on the floor, like there's some offensive skill there, and they're able to like make some of these higher level dribble, pass, shoot sequences that can get some really good looks. Desmond Bane's broken out of his early season slump that he was in. Franz is averaging 23 points per game in this 10-game stretch. Tristan Da Silva is now hitting 43% of his threes on 5 attempts per game, over 5 attempts per game in this 10-game stretch. Like the Magic are showing some real signs of life, starting to play some serious good basketball down there in Orlando. And again, like I think this started before Paolo left, so this is not like now that Paolo's gone. Like as a team, they're just starting to play a lot better basketball on the offensive end of the floor, recapturing their defense and rebounding identity, recapturing their transition identity, and getting a lot more done on that end of the floor. On the Warriors front, again, some of their personnel limitations were on display in this game. Like they looked really small at several points, especially around the rim. Like Al Horford, looking kind of old and slow to start the season, has made their center rotation look like it's lacking. Also, like guarding these bigger downhill athletes, we saw this be an issue in the Portland game earlier this year. Like we saw this be an issue in the Milwaukee game, like trying to deal with Ryan Rollins. Like some of these bigger athletes, when they start attacking downhill, they can cause a lot of problems. And Anthony Black and Franz Wagner in particular, they looked really comfortable getting downhill and getting to their spots with ease. Obviously, some frustrating inconsistency on offense with their role players that's hurting them. Like Moses Moody got some really clean looks out of the corner that didn't go down. Brandon Pajemski missed some easy ones. He like straight up smoked a wide open right-handed layup in this game. And like that hurt them, especially in the context of how well Orlando's depth played. But I don't want to focus too much on that because ultimately it came down to mistakes. Like whatever downsides you got down the bench, you got 67 points out of your stars, which gave you a chance to win the game. But just too many turnovers, too many bad transition defense possessions, too many offensive rebounds, especially in key portions of the game that stopped their runs. Like they'd cut it to 5, and then they'd make a couple of mistakes and it'd be back to 9 and 10. Buddy Hield stuck out like a sore thumb in this respect, especially in the second half. Like he had a really bad turnover where he left his feet in the middle of the floor and ended up throwing the ball right to Anthony Black. But it was mostly on the defensive end, like kind of overreacting to screening actions and getting out of position and then giving up slips or giving up cuts or giving up drives. He had a bad one against Anthony Black where he gave up a dunk. Warriors cut it to 5. And then Steph is getting ready to switch out to the perimeter. And for some reason, Buddy Hield decided he should stunt that direction. Anthony Black is standing in the corner and he's like, I'm open. Gets the ball, just racks baseline. Buddy's out of position. He just blows through his shoulder and gets a 2-handed dunk along the baseline. That's a critical mistake that instead of getting a stop and going down and cutting the lead to 3 or 2, now it's back up to 7 and you've lost some of that momentum. And so, like, it's really hard to win on the road against good teams. Like, Orlando's really good. Like we talked about on Playback last weekend, the Eastern Conference at the top has been very good this year against the West. You've got to bring your A game against them or you're going to get beat. And I just thought the Warriors made way too many mistakes, and it's hard to win on the road against good teams when you make that many mistakes. No rest for the weary, though. For the Warriors, they're back on the road again tonight in Miami, although I'll be curious to see if the Warriors even play their vets in that game. Tail end of the road trip, I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe consider benching guys and getting some rest, but we'll see. They play tonight, I believe, at 4:30 Pacific time or 4 Pacific time we'll end up seeing if they have a response for that Miami Heat team that also can be very feisty.